kind of tagging on to that, my next question is about, how you were talking about how we learned history in school. And, many of our generation, even now, they have grown up on history textbooks that have been churned by the grist mills of, say, NCERT, a ship that was steered by the likes of Romila Thapar and company. So, and as a result, we are none the wiser. So I know that recently there was a controversy about, you were at the receiving end of some criticism about your opinion on this. Could you care to elaborate a little bit more on what you think of, our how our curriculum is designed as far as history is concerned? How do we teach? What do you think of the way we teach history in schools today?
Yeah, when I actually see the books today, I have a great sense of respect for even the bad books that I studied as a kid, because I think over time, things have just become worse than what it was. I think the reference you were making was to that India Today conclave, where I had the pleasure of sharing stage with Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and we had a very healthy disagreement on what the role of history itself needs to be. Quite by chance, Dr. Tharoor did mention in that interaction that history was like a tool for nation building, and just as it came in the aftermath of the horrors of partition, the birth of a new nation, so you needed this tool to be used to build a new nation, and therefore a lot of uncomfortable truths, uncomfortable chapters in the long and bloody saga of our country had to be subsumed, had to be pushed under the carpet. And this is something quite accidentally he accepted as one of the objectives of history writing, which the Congress wanted to do, which I have serious problems with, because history is not a tool for nation building, according to me. Because if that is, then it can't exist both ways, that you don't then inculcate a sense of pride for your nation. Which is what I think our history books end up doing, because as I mentioned there too, a child who reads the history of her country, she almost feels that she is reading the story of some other nation and not her own. That sense of ownership, that sense that I'm talking about my nation, hardly comes true in the way our history textbooks are written. To everybody who's listening, I mean, these books are there online, free of cost, on the NCERT website. I would urge everyone to just visit and download the books, classes I think 6, 7, 8 or so, and then just download them and read them for your pasts or something. That's what it is called. The way ancient India is represented, the way medieval and modern India is represented, I think it's completely something that nobody would be proud of. Give you some examples. So in ancient India, there are preposterous claims made that, of course, you had to calumnize a particular class, so the Brahmin class, the priestly class. So if history is used as nation building, and you don't want to talk about invasions only because it would demonize the Muslim community, falsely assumed so, then why would you want to demonize the Brahmins? So, but then that can happen, that can continue to happen. If there is societal conflict between Brahmins and other communities within Hinduism, then that is all fine. But then there should be no demonization only of the Muslims. So in the ancient India book, I think it says the Brahmins had become so corrupt, and so there were these havans and yajnas and all that was done, and so much of the produce that was there of milk and honey and all of this was liberally used, snatched away from the masses and actually put into these havans and homams and all that. And that led to mass famines in different parts of Vedic India, all kinds of stories. So somebody had actually filed, among several FIRs, one of the RTIs, someone had filed an RTI to find out what is the source of this thing, that there was a huge famine or regular famines during Vedic era, and the NCERT had no answer. The person who had written the book had no answer to that. Now, coming to even medieval India, and there was some so-called, some professionally trained historian who's in some foreign university who again challenged me, saying, oh, this is all bunkum, what he said, etc. And I said, anybody, as I said, can go and read it for themselves and make up their opinion. But what the glaring errors that I found among several others. There's an entire document I have created, almost of 40 pages of all the errors and omissions in these books. Now, in the medieval book too, the incommensurate, attention that is given to certain very, very bigoted and intolerant kind of dynasties like the Khiljis and Lodhis and Tughlaqs. I don't know what their contribution to this country is and why we should dedicate an entire chapter to them. Whereas entire chapter, there are almost 2 or 3 chapters, of course, to the Mughals. But then the Cholas, under whom our maritime power extended to the southeast, probably less than half a page about the Cholas. The Vijayanagar Empire, yes, is also something like that only. And even the whole thing that the city of Hampi, which was extolled by so many foreign travelers, and we all have so many accounts of how gold and rubies and all that was being sold on the streets, and it was so prosperous and all of that. A city like Hampi probably has one line somewhere which just says it just fell by itself, as if there was no plunder, there was nothing happening, And the more shocking thing for me was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj has only a photograph. There's only one photograph with a caption, slightly lengthy caption describing who the person in the photograph is. That is all that a young child would read and know about who Shivaji Maharaj is today. And the Peshwas perhaps get a few lines. So though the British themselves have accepted that they took India not from the Mughals, but actually from the Marathas. The Marathas. So what is their, the coverage in our history books? It's so less and so unimportant. It's deemed as, and so many other parts of the country, as we spoke earlier. The south of India, the Rashtrakutas, the northeast, the Ahoms, the dynasties of Manipur, of Tripura, of Nagaland, and all these places, they just don't feature in the story of India. Of course, if you're not talking about any royal families, you're just talking about people's history, that's great. So let's not talk about any royalty then. Let's just talk about subaltern history as it is made out of. But then when you're talking about giving, as I said, incommensurate attention to one particular region, which was Delhi, very Delhi-centric history that we have, and ignoring vast swathes of the land, then, either talk about everybody a little or talk about nobody. Have a complete recasting of the way we see our past. That is not done. So these are some of the fault lines and the issues. And as I said, the whole attempt to whitewash, to subsume, to under the false, assumption that national unity and social cohesion today would in some way be affected if you spoke the truth. I think that is one of the banes of Indian historiography.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.